MeTV is America's #1 classic TV entertainment network, airing over 60 of the greatest TV series every week. Now, MeTV presents The Golden Girls of Summer, showcasing the best of the Golden Girls. Watch Dorothy, Blanche, Rose, and Sophia weeknights on MeTV at 10 p.m. 9 Central. Log on to MeTV.com now to find out where to watch MeTV free over the air and on cable, satellite, and select streaming services. MeTV is memorable entertainment television.
Grab your big book, your pen, your highlighter, and notepad and get ready to hear and apply some of the solution from the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous through the experience, strength, and hope of Nikki M. To have a question addressed in a future episode of Noodle It Out with Nikki, please send an email to noodlewithnikki@gmail.com, and Nikki is spelled with 2 Ks. To get a more interactive experience with Nikki as she noodles out life and recovery questions using the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, you can get a link to her weekly Noodle It Out with Nikki meeting held live on Zoom every Monday morning at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. The information to that meeting is in the show notes of this podcast. God morning, God afternoon, and God evening to all. My name is Justin B., and I'm a son of an all-powerful, perfectly loving God and a qualifying addict of multiple fellowships, living in the miracle of recovery one day at a time. Even in hard times and good times, so far, one day at a time, I'm making it through. And I'm here with the intelligent agent, spearhead of God's ever-advancing creation, and my co-host, Nikki M. Nikki, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's happening in your world today?
Hi, everyone. Oh, so much is happening. I'm Nikki M, and I'm a grateful member. I'm an intelligent agent spearhead, and I'm a child of a loving, all-powerful God. And I'm just grateful to be here. It's 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I just told Justin he looks handsome because he wakes up at he's on the West Coast, and I get to see him on the screen. You guys get to listen to his fabulous radio voice, and he's just in his. I think he must be heading out to something else because he's all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and I'm in a button-up shirt, and I'm here in my noodle robe. But I'm excited for today because as I was getting ready, Justin, for this morning, I remembered today's a new opportunity to start over again, to trust in this power, to follow these instructions, because we, in this podcast, come with a big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, 4th edition. I also want to ask everybody, please keep this table, this room open for the next generation who will need to hear our experience, strength, and hope. So if you have a 7th, and that's a donation that we give to keep this going, because we like to be fully self-supporting. Justin can tell you a little bit more about that. But ultimately, Justin, I'm just grateful. I'm really grateful to be here and be alive to share this message of hope today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nikki, and I appreciate you sharing what you shared there. And yes, this time of year is when all of this is the anniversary. Let's see, 2020. So this is the 6th anniversary of RICO 12. And we've been doing Noodle It Out with Nikki for several years. We've been doing the Big Book Roundtable for several years, and at this time of year, all of the web hosting, the podcast hosting, all of those things come around due, and it costs about between $1,000 and $1,200 a year to run this. So any donations are very helpful, and we really appreciate them. So as Nikki said, if you got a few dollars, send it our way. We've got some links in the show notes there, and we're just grateful to have whatever help and spread it by word of mouth, because word of mouth, that's really what we're here to do, is to share this message, practice these principles, get it out there so that others can hear and put these principles into action in their lives. So grateful for any support that you might be able to share. All right, what we do in the Noodle It Out with Nikki podcast is we take questions from everyday life, whether it be questions that we encounter in the Noodle chat on WhatsApp, whether it be questions we encounter with sponsors, sponsees, just everyday life, and bring it to the big book. And today we're going to do something not different, but we're going to go to a phrase in the big book on page 87 that talks about many helpful books. In our last episode, Nikki, I mentioned the book Big Magic, Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, and we talked about fear and that letter to fear and that powerful thing that's really been helpful to me in my life. And Nikki, as we were talking before we got going, we said, hey, let's pull some other books out and talk about some other helpful books that have been helpful for us. So, Nikki, why don't we jump into that and share with us some of the books that have been helpful for you? And I've got a couple here for me also.
Okay, great, Justin. And yeah, it was just, we had our mind on, we do that other podcast roundtable where we don't have to question what we're going to read. It's in the fourth edition blue book, the Alcoholics Anonymous, and it's got white pages and black ink. And so the paragraph that Justin took us to is on page 87. And let's just read that whole paragraph real quick so we can get to it, because it says, if circumstances warrant, we ask our wives, our children, our friends, our neighbors, the human race to join us in a morning meditation, because this is when we awake and our mind, if we haven't cleared it from the night before, even when we do clear it, we wake up from a deep sleep and we forget who we are. Let's not forget the big book 30 times asks us to remember. Says if we belong to a religious denomination or any spiritual, some of you have crystals. I mean, it says books, but you can bring in, as we were just getting ready, to talk about the other books, I grabbed a laminated set of prayers I have. I grabbed my star seed oracle cards that someone gave me. I'm looking at my, I don't need any more crystals up my bum, but I have a bunch because I've got so many friends that are they're star seeds. Remember, we entered the world of the spirit, we read on the previous pages. And it says, which requires a definite. Well, that's a key word, Justin. And I know everybody, if you're like my friend Justin B., you're up for your morning devotion before you even get on to record the podcast. So I'm looking at Mr. Bright-Eyed, Bushy-Tailed in his button-up nice shirt. And he probably had to wake up even an hour earlier to do his morning devotion so he could do this with me right now. And it's early on the East Coast, on the West Coast. I'm East Coast. I have a West Coast mind, Justin. I'm from Orange County, California. So here it is, your morning devotion that we attend to do also, that we attend to that also. So we attend to that, we do that. If not members of a religious body, we select and memorize a few sets of prayers. So I can start there. Like I've got the pinnacle prayers, and we have a good friend. I hope she comes on here sometime, Anashwara. And I know she's active in Rico 12 and in the Noodle family. And she's led me to, what's his name? Howard Wills. Now, again, a lot of these, I'm not promoting these because a lot of this costs money, but these prayers are free and you can download them. And it says, speak or read silently each prayer 2 or 3 times in a row, taking 3 to 5 minutes or 2 to 3 times a day as needed. So it's like a prescription. And this is the very first one. I'll just read it real quick. It's, God, please help me forgive everyone for everything. Everyone forgive me for everything. Help us all forgive ourselves for everything. Please, God, thank you, God. Amen. Thank you, God. Amen. And then there's more and more. And I mean, I'll just read this. I mean, there's about 5 or 6 on here. And this last one on the other side, on my laminated set of prayers. And, when you first start out, Justin, we're on the step 3 prayer on page 63. We're on the page 76 prayer. A lot of you are on the page, and we have a podcast where we've gone through sets of prayers. I don't know if that's episode 40 or I think this is going to be 156 episodes we've done today, Justin, and it's just a miracle. So go back and look at those because we've done them all on prayer. So actually, I won't read more. And then it says, and you have your set prayers. A lot of you are religious. There's the you're using your prayer beads. Like these things are so awesome. And it says a few set of prayers which emphasize the principles. Make sure they're prayers about the principles were discussed, not give me, never gets. Principles about serving others, wanting nothing in return, altruistic lifestyles. that we've been discussing. So we're on page 87, but if you go back and read from the blank page, like Justin and I and our friend David G have, there's so many things in there. I mean, there's a lot of prayers. Just ask God as a prayer. And so now we're at the many helpful books. So I'll do my first one and you can jump in because my sponsor, and if you sponsor enough, Justin, you know this, and you share and teach and give, you receive. And I was talking to my sponsee in New York, in America. I'm in Canada. And we were talking about, I'm watching videos on Stoicism. And so then he says, oh my gosh, Nikki, I have this daily Stoic 366 meditations on wisdom, perseverance, and the art of living. Picks it up and shows it to me while I'm sponsoring, while we're talking, I think. By, I think, 12 o'clock, like 12 hours later, so it was, I don't know, 10 p.m., this was at my doorstep. And I was like, what is going on? Science, sci-fi. Like, but he's like, no, it's just Amazon, Nikki. I don't use that stuff. I'm afraid. I don't like technology. If I can't go to the store and ride my bike and get it, I'm afraid. And so that was amazing. And today I read this, June 10th, and it's called You Can Do It. Well, that's what our big book is, Into Action. You can do it. So what I do too, Justin, is I'll read something and I'll muck it up and I'll read it and I'll line it out to the big book. So I don't want to read the whole thing, but basically it says, you can do it, and it says something. I'll just read it. If you find something very difficult to achieve yourself, don't imagine it impossible, for anything possible and proper for another person can be achieved as easily by you. And that's Marcus Aurelius, Meditations. And it says, because I guess he has a book on meditation. I need that book too. But my line out says deep down inside. So there's God deep down inside me, inside every man. And then I just read on and on, like the little analogy that they give. And my line out, my addict life is my only normal one. Can't differentiate the true from the false. They talk about inspiration. With this attitude, it talks about my line out. I need a new belief system. With this attitude, what attitude? God's will, my daily step 3 decision, and then it says, who will you be was the question. My line out says page 68. What would God have me be? So that's what I do a lot of time with different meditations, because I have to get out of the big book. I've been here for 14 years, Justin. So I do need to improve. What book do you have in your hand, my friend?
Yeah, thank you, Nikki. There are a lot of books that I have used that I found a lot of really good things for my recovery in. And the one that my second youngest daughter and I have been reading together for a while, and we just finished it up the other day, is called Illusions, The Adventures of a Reluctant Messiah. And it's by Richard Bach. But anyways, in this book, some things that have been really helpful for me is that it refers to another handbook of this reluctant Messiah who, anyways, it's a really cool story. But the handbook is called the Messiah's Handbook by Richard Bach, and it's a companion book. But throughout this book, there are little notes from that Messiah's Handbook. And Nikki, I think you would really like this, because you talk about, hey, we're starseeds, we're the God within us, we are God, children of God, and all of those things, which I also mention and have those same type of beliefs. And this is a really cool book like that. But here's one of the.
Hey, sweetie, your mother showed me this Carvana thing for selling the car. I'm going to give it a try. Wish me luck. Me again. I put in the license plate. It gave me an offer. Unbelievable. Okay, I accepted the offer. They're picking it up Tuesday from the driveway. I haven't even left my chair. It's done. The car's gone. I'm holding a check. Anyway, Carvana, give it a whirl. Love ya.
So good, you'll want to leave a voicemail about it. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
Little excerpts from that come from the Messiah's Handbook. Here is a test to find whether your mission on earth is finished. If you're alive, it isn't. And it's just little things like that. The truth you speak has no past and no future. It is. And that's all it needs to be. And there's just little ditties in there that just are bits of wisdom that motivate in the moment, that make you think a little bit in the moment. and I found a lot of power. And really, like I said, my daughter and I read it together over the last couple of weeks. We'd sit down and read a chapter together, every couple of days, and it was connecting for us. And some of those phrases and some of the stories within the book itself have been really inspirational for me. So that's one that I'm reading, that I just finished the other day with my daughter, and that's been something that's been really helpful for me. And I've got a couple other books. Do you want me to go into the next one and then bring it back to you, or what do you?
Yeah, do that, Justin. I want to hear that. And I wait just real quick. I love that what you said, because it says if circumstances warrant. Remember, we do have the big book always between me and Justin. And he asked his daughter to join him. Well, maybe not in the morning because daddy's up early, but maybe an evening meditation. And hey, let's read this. And then you guys can fall asleep with that thought, that little, I love what you said, that little ditty, that little nugget. So yeah, what's the next book you got?
Yeah, the next book is one that I share with a ton of sponsees and a ton of people who ask me about, how do I get rid of this demon that's just following me around? This demon that's addiction, my acting out, my substance, whatever it is that just is screaming at me all the time. And this book is called The Great Divorce, and it's by C.S. Lewis, who was a Christian scholar, apologist, whatever. He wrote it sometime in the late 1940s or early 1950s, but it's called The Great Divorce. And to me, there is no better illustration of the addict, the lizard on my shoulder that is always screaming at me and telling me that I can't live without it. I cannot live without this partner, but I have to kill it. I have to get rid of it if I'm going to recover, if I'm going to move forward and progress in this life. And it is a fantastic illustration. And there's several other illustrations. The tragedarian actor, that illustration, that story is also a very powerful one that talks about the mask that we wear as, I relate it as addicts. I want everybody to see me as perfect, and I hide behind that mask, and all it's doing is destroying me and people around me. And it's a fantastic book called The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis. So that's another big one I use all the time.
I love that image of the lizard on my shoulder because, I go deep into the spirit world. And so yes, there are lizard people, but that's another podcast I do, you guys. It's out of the big book. So we won't talk about that. And if you're listening and you're getting your feathers ruffled, good. Because I want us all, Justin, real quick to turn to page 568. See, most emphatically, and this is in the spiritual experience awakening. So most emphatically, and on the Roundtable podcast, we went line by line through this. So jump over to that podcast too, where it says, we wish to say that any alcoholic, addict, person, child of God, capable of honestly facing their problems in the light of our experience can recover. Here it is, provided he, the children of God, highest creator, do not close their mind to everybody. Justin, I know you have your circled and highlighted and starred and squared, all spiritual concepts. He, she, Nikki, Justin can only be defeated by an attitude of intolerance or belligerent denial. Further down, I have highlighted on the Herbert Spence quote, contempt prior to investigation, because I'm thinking right now, I have a friend, she's Christian. She used to read tarot cards, and then now she threw it and burned it, and now even yoga is a sin. You understand these people too, Justin, who go to these extremes, because if you do not speak Bible because the crystals didn't work for her, we're an alchemist here. We are taking a little bit of everything, Justin and I. So if you're going, what are these guys talking about? Books outside, or that doesn't say what my Torah says. I shouldn't do that. My Imam, my Quran, the Buddhist temple won't allow that. My Christian church won't. No. All spiritual concepts is what we do in 12-step. So when I say that that image of the lizard on me. Yeah, that works for me, Justin. Or when I show you the book of that, my friend, the Starseed, who's speaking tonight on a boat cruise. Hi, Catherine F. And my sponsor, Cameron's going to drive, his wife's going to drive us. We're all going out to support her. See, anything's possible with God. She gave me the emerald tablets of Thoth, the Atlantean, who, if you read it deep enough, went into some tunnel and then transformed into Jesus. So, anything's possible with these books, Justin. And I love it because it opens our mind in the spirit world. Now, when I said that to you, 2 books, I have another one in my hand, a little one. And these are like little toilet readers, everybody. Instead of taking your dirty phone in there, just remember when you used to have the newspaper, or, if you grew up in my house, my dad had Playboy on the back of the toilet, which now I see like, this is the family disease of alcoholism. You're 3 years old and you're like, oh, what's that girl doing there? And, but this book is The Wise Mind of H.I.M. Emperor Haile Selassie, King Rastafari, okay? Because remember, I study where religious people are right also. And not that they are right where they are. And if you just open it and just turn to anything, it's just like, all the chapters have different things, advice to students and work, money, development, it's just radical, these little nuggets you can take and you can chew on them all day. And it's beautiful. Like this one. This is in the Unity and Brotherhood. Our greatest asset is our unity, and we must exploit it to the fullest. And then you can relate that to our big book. It says we, it never says me or I. It says our fellowship is the substitute for the fear, for the worry, for the control, for, when one of our babies are sick, we go to each other. When my dogs died, it wasn't my family coming to me, Justin. It's all of you guys who literally came when I was away on my Caribbean vacation. It wasn't my family. It was the 12-step fellowship I love so much. Flowers, on the porch with my mom, holding it's my 12 steppers that came, and they do all for me. So this is radical stuff. We also can just go, because it's now 2026, Justin. It says books, but there's helpful podcasts. This one in general. You can give me a podcast maybe you like to listen to and go deeper. Movies. We talked about it. Like if you haven't seen The Shack, oh, Justin, that will really make you cry. Come in here with me.
Yeah, the Shack is a great, and I've read The Shack. I haven't seen the movie, so I imagine that the movie is really powerful too. But The Shack broke me open. It was good stuff. And I'm a little bit eccentric, old-fashioned, I think, in my movies that I find meaning in. Field of Dreams, it's a baseball movie. But that just breaks me open as a human and connects me with people. And that's one that just does that for me. And just things that are helpful that make me get outside of myself and stop dwelling on the noise that's in my own head. Stop dwelling on on me. Because selfishness, self-centeredness, that is the root of all my problems. And anything that takes me out of that and connects me with a higher power, connects me with others in community, is helpful to me. It could be like what you said, Nikki. It could be some books. It could be podcasts. And I have my regular podcasts that I listen to. Many of them are recovery centered. And I also do other podcasts that are kind of on hiatus right now because of crazy schedules. But books, movies are other things that just really help me out in those places. So, Nikki, I'm really grateful that we could have this discussion, and maybe we continue on this in a future episode in a couple of months with other resources that might be helpful. We'll see where our higher power takes us in that. So, Nikki, any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Yeah, just everybody, let's again turn to, I think we read it again in the big book, page 28. It's page 28. And because we always have to have our favorite book, Justin, at the table, especially for a final thought. But it's like, it's on the third paragraph down. It's basically the bottom few sentences where it says, those having religious affiliations. Let's go deeper. Spiritual. You go to your drum circle. I don't know, you do your can drive every week for your community. Whatever your religious, service, spiritual, you bring a little bit of everything. And that's what's so wonderful about the rooms. And we're talking the rooms of any and all anonymouses, any fellowship, AA, everybody, because remember, everyone's welcome who wants a spiritual way of life. But it says, we will find nothing disturbing. So remember that, everybody. Like, I don't know where other religions are like that. They're like, you can't bring that here. You can't do that here. But we will find nothing disturbing to their beliefs, right? Or ceremonies. Bring your sweat lodge here. Where's our David G? I'm coming to Oklahoma to get into one. Like, Justin, you and we're going to have to do that one day together there. I don't know how it all works, but I want to get into those indigenous ceremonies. Don't be afraid. There's no friction among us over such matters. All are welcome here in the 12-step room. So bring all your stuff. Keep your big book at the front. Always at the foremost of your mind, at the forefront. Keep doing this. Trudge the happy road of destiny with us, but bring in those other things because they can be helpful. I'm just going to have the greatest day of my life, and I hope you do too, Justin.
Thank you so much, and I hope I'm going to have the greatest day of my life today too. There's an adventure out there to be had, and as we practice these principles in all our affairs and all aspects of our lives, that great adventure can be magnified by our usefulness to God and our fellows around us. Keep coming back. And as we put these principles into action, as we dive deep into helpful books, into helpful resources, that will continue. One last thought before I launch us out of here. You said today's June 10th. That's two things that I need to remember. One, it's my mom's birthday, so I need to reach out to her. Two, it's Founders Day. It's the day that is recognized as the launching point of Alcoholics Anonymous. So everybody have belated when this comes out. It'll be about a week later. But have a great, I hope your Founders Day was great. I hope my mom's birthday was great. And keep coming back. It works when I work it, so work it. You are worth it.